Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Ross Nayabingi, and today I'll be talking to you all about the 7 dangers of spirituality. What is spirituality? The importance of spirituality, but also the dangers of quote unquote being spiritual, right? So, we all are spiritual because we all have a spirit. But the context that I'm talking about would be more so removing yourself from the religious dharmas, removing yourself from society, expectations, removing yourself from any programming, and in that sense, and being more open-minded and being more conscious and being like the Buddha, the awakened person. So that's the context that I'm gonna be speaking about as far as spirituality. And so the first danger of spirituality is the spirit ego. A lot of us, we're on this path of enlightenment and being awakened, and some of us become very arrogant with our newfound level of consciousness and newfound level of awareness. And we feel like we're better than others because now we quote unquote know more than the next person. And it's dangerous because that's not spiritual, that's not being one with the universe, because a true awakened person know to bring more similarities. How can I bring similarities to, and how can I find similarities, I should say, towards one another, as opposed to division and separation and a hierarchy towards each other? So we have to remove the ego. And once we remove the ego, you will really start seeing your spirit growing. The second danger of spirituality is we become aliens to others. People start looking at us like aliens, in the sense of a foreign object or a foreign person, because they're so used to us being a certain way. They're used to themselves being programmed in a certain way of what normal is. So when they see somebody else acting different and not in their programming, then some people can look at you as weird, or foreign, or an alien, to the best regard. And so that's definitely a danger. And most of these stuff, like I said, is not a bad thing. It's not to beat you up, but it's just to show the dangers of what it's like to be quote unquote spiritual. The third danger is we can build resentment towards family, friends, and even the world, when we transition to a different path of our upbringing. And we can have a resentment towards, or they can have resentment towards us when we shift away from their programming that they're used to. And I see this a lot, where if you was brought up a certain way, and once you get to a certain age of consciousness, you drift away from those teachings and that doctrine. And some families would be ignorant, in certain fashions, to shun you from the family. Even the world, if you have a specific worship day, and you're adamant about that worship day, certain jobs can create a resentment if they're not conscious enough and wise enough to understand and appreciate your devotion to whatever practice you got going on. They can have a resentment towards scheduling you off, or you scheduling yourself, or having a set day off, because a lot of us, and a lot of people, I should say, a lot of people aren't aware of other cultures and other forms of thinking and other forms of consciousness. And some people could just be very narrow-minded to, their way of programming. And so you can definitely create and build resentment with your family, friends, and society, and vice versa. The third danger is it can be hard to date or find someone like-minded like yourself. And so in this world that we live in, like I said, it's a lot of programming. It's a lot of bondages, that we deal with. And, when you date someone and you're going through a certain path of enlightenment or endarkment, depending on whatever doctrine you believe and practices that you're a practitioner of. If someone is not like that, it can be hard to have a successful relationship. It can be hard for you guys to flourish and grow and build a family and have a successful marriage because of the differences. And so we have to be mindful in this journey that not everyone will be on the same path as you at that same time. Every flower grows at different speeds and times. So you have to be appreciative of their journey at the time, just as well as because you was once there, in a sense, and you was once ignorant in certain fashions, and you are still ignorant in certain fashions, but awakened in certain other fashions. So, and they themselves can be awakened in certain fashions and ignorant in certain fashions. So, once again, spirituality is about unity. How can you build similarities with one another as opposed to differences? And it can be as a danger, it can be difficult to have patience with other people that may not be on the same path as you at that particular time. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be definitely your lifestyle or a new lifestyle or your new way of path can affect others. People can just may not like you. Like I said in my point earlier, just because you're not in their programming no more, or just because you removed yourself from a certain programming, certain people may not, certain people, certain friends, certain family members, you'll be surprised, but you'll start losing a lot of people around you when you start drifting into another path, or when you start drifting into your own God consciousness and your own self. Because to know God is to know self, and to know self is to know God. 6, the sixth danger is you might can't tell the difference between both realities. And both realities can be the astral plane and the present physical plane that we live in today. Many of us, when we're going through our practices and when we're practicing certain practices, we may have dreams. We may be into astral projection, lucid dreaming, things that are in more of the unseen realm, so to speak. And we can live in those realms and be so comfortable in those realms, may even be using certain vices to allow us to reach those type of astral planes. And in essence, it can distort our vision and our and our vision and visual of what is real and what is not. We might be so comfortable in the astral world that we may want to neglect the physical. Some of us, it can lead to suicide, in a more extreme side of things. So we got to be very conscious and very aware of staying in the now, staying in the present, and also knowing the difference between both realms that you're pulling from. And so the seventh one, and it's important for this one, is that we as parents, we as children, to not have resentment once we as parents come to a certain level of consciousness, depending on the age of the child, that we would remove certain religions, of course, certain society practices and customs, but also here in the West, holidays are definitely very marketed. It's very profitable. In the West, and some places in the East as well too. But me in the West, if you're in the path of enlightenment, if you're in the path of bettering yourself and bettering others and finding unity, certain things like holidays, you would remove from, and in some fashion, since it's so promoted and since it's so marketed, such as Halloween, Thanksgiving, Easter, Christmas, etc., etc., your children can resent that because they'll see their children or they'll see their friends into those marketing strategies and holidays, and they will want to be partaking that type of stuff. And so as parents, we have to be very conscious. As children, we have to be very patient and understand that all of this is just worldly things and it's all temporary. But as a parent, find certain ways to, you know, to keep that child happy, because as a parent, you will want to always keep your children happy, but also teach them the truth of all of these distractions in this world that's keeping you away from your actual God consciousness and your actual inner being, And so I just want to give y'all those 7 jewels, those 7 dangers of spirituality. I pray that you guys don't fall into those pitfalls, in those dangers. And if you are suffering from certain dangers of spirituality, I pray that you can can heal from that and find a cure, and find ways to get up out of that danger and really living your spirituality and really awaken to be that Buddha. So, in conclusion, please, 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 you know, get out of that danger of spirituality. Get out of the danger of the self ego and the spiritual ego, and being so alienated that you don't know how to communicate and connect with the world itself, and finding the difference between the astral world and the physical realm. So peace, y'all.